Welcome. My name is Leah Justin-Jinich. I'm a PhD candidate studying Japanese art and literature at Harvard University, and I am a graduate student intern this year for the Harvard Art Museums. I will be your guide on this virtual tour. On February 14, 2020, the Harvard Art Museums opened its largest exhibition to date of more than 120 paintings dating from Japan's early modern period, called the Edo period. The paintings were selected from the magnificent collection of Robert S. and Betsy G. Feinberg, who have been collecting Japanese art for almost 50 years and have, in an extraordinary act of generosity, promised their collection to the Harvard Art Museums. Edo is both a time and a place. The Edo period spanned from 1615 to 1868 and was an age of relative peace. The government was headed by the Tokugawa shoguns, or military generalissimos. The Edo period was named for the shogun's new eastern headquarters, the city of Edo, today known as Tokyo, which rapidly grew from its origins as a sleepy fishing village into the largest city in the early modern world. The period was characterized by exponential economic change. Artistic studios and ateliers, producing a dazzling array of paintings, arose to meet the demand for artworks from populations of commoners newly able to afford them. In this tour, we will focus on the work of one remarkable Edo period artist, Nagasawa Rosetsu, who lived from 1754 to 1799. The center painting in this triptych, or set of 3 hanging scroll paintings, depicts a charming scene of puppies playing beneath bamboo. The puppies are flanked by 2 paintings of Zen, or Chan, Buddhist eccentrics, who look on with amusement. Let's begin by examining the subject matter. Who are we looking at? In the center, we have 3 adorable puppies playing under a few stalks of bamboo. Their wide eyes and happy, almost smiling faces seem to be the cause of the amusement of the 2 men who stand on either side of the scene. The brown and white puppy in the center has its mouth open and is yipping with glee, the canine equivalent of laughter. The figure on the right is Hote, or Budai in Chinese. He is somewhat unkempt, being barefoot and wearing robes that fail to conceal his round, protruding belly. He carries a knotted walking staff. Hote's beard is soft and bushy, and he looks intently towards the puppies. His eyes seem benevolent and even tender. According to ancient lore, Hote was a Chinese vagabond monk living in and around Mount Siming, situated on the coast of southern China, not far from present-day Shanghai. He was known for eccentric behavior, including laughing at odd times, playing with children, and muttering nonsense. Hote's name literally translates to sack, or bag, for the large cloth bag that he carried with him. In this painting, his bag is absent, although his round belly might serve as a visual reference to this part of his iconography. Hote became a legendary figure in Zen Buddhism because his bizarre behavior was thought to be that of an enlightened monk, and unintelligible only to those who were still unawakened. On the left is Jitoku, or Shuda in Chinese. Jitoku is recognizable here by his characteristic scruffy hair, his plain clothing, appropriate to his role as a temple servant and groundskeeper, and the fact that he is holding a broom. Jitoku is a legendary figure from ancient China who lived at a famous monastery on Mount Tiantai in Zhejiang province in southern China. Jitoku's name means foundling, as he was left at the monastery as an infant. Jitoku is most often paired with another Zen figure, his friend, Kanzan, or Hanchan in Chinese. Hanchan and Shuda are known for jesting together and laughing about inscrutable jokes. Jitoku is often portrayed as somewhat disheveled to express his eccentricity as a superior being unhampered by convention. Hote and Jitoku were thought to have shared an air of innocent enlightenment, where their simple, childlike delight actually denoted their awakened state. Both figures are also associated with laughter, and as you'll notice here, both of their mouths are open, signaling that they are laughing heartily. These paintings were made in the late 1780s to 1790s by Nagasawa Rosetsu, who was born to a low-level samurai family. He was active as a painter in Kyoto, but also traveled to the provinces to paint on commissions for Buddhist temples. Rosetsu was a student of the highly successful painter Maruyama Okyo, but according to lore, was expelled from his school 3 times for his wild behavior. Rosetsu is known today as an artist in the scholarly category of the so-called eccentric painters because of the numerous stories passed down about his wild behavior and his supposedly stormy relationship with his teacher. The way that Rosetsu depicts the two men derives from a style of monochrome ink painting that was practiced in China by Zen Buddhist monk painters, and which was adopted by their fellow monks in Japan beginning in the 14th century. Let's take a look at an example of this kind of painting by comparing this pair of hanging scrolls depicting Hote and another friend of Jitoku, the monk Fangan, with a pet tiger. This work was painted by the otherwise unknown Chinese artist Li Chue, who was active in the mid-13th century. This work is an important cultural property in Japan. Comparing the laughing Hote and Jitoku, what you may notice is the expressive brushwork used to delineate the folds, where broad sweeps of the brush, sometimes applied quite rapidly, produces a dynamic sense of movement. In both works, the facial features are rendered with minute detail, while the hair is applied with a soft, brushy wash. Jitoku's wild hair is even more emphasized by the application of a second layer of wet ink over a first still wet layer, which creates an ink-stained effect that gives Jitoku's hair a further sense of patchiness and variegation. Unlike Li Chue's work, Rosetsu has added tone to Jitoku's lower garments and his shoes, and so comparing them, Jitoku looks more present and grounded than the laughing Hote. Here, comparing the monk Fangan and his tiger with Rosetsu's Hote, we also see comparable differences in tonality. Notice how much care has been taken to reproduce the brushy fur of the tiger, whose hair is standing on end, much like an angry cat. By contrast, the lightest traces of an inked brush are sufficient to give life to Hote's belly hair. Notice also the shapes of their knobbly staffs, which are built up with strokes of black ink in the case of Li Chue's painting on the left, and varying shades of ink wash in Rosetsu's on the right. Their gnarled, crooked appearance reflects well the peculiar personalities of their owners. One last detail I'd like to point out is the skillfulness with which Rosetsu rendered the rounded, bare toes of Hote. We can even see his toenails and dimples on the top of his feet near his toes. You really get a sense of their rounded fleshiness, but compared to the vigorous, powerful quality of Hote's robes, the eccentric's feet also seem delicate and even vulnerable. We can imagine him wandering through the woods and encountering stones or twigs, and yet these kind of strange, enlightened figures seem completely unaware of these small hardships. That attitude is representative of the deity's ability to understand the true nature of the universe. Let's return now to the work as a whole. These 3 pieces were originally likely part of a larger set of 12 paintings total, all depicting figures important to the Zen cultural and iconographic pantheon. Although Jitoku and Hote are not usually figures that are paired together, the person who assembled these paintings as a triptych surely considered the shared formal elements of the 2 flanking paintings. While Jitoku is depicted turning away from us in a three-quarter view, exposing his right side and back, Hote is shown in a three-quarter view facing us, with his left side and front visible. Together, they create a pleasing visual harmony that unifies the three works as a triptych. There are other balancing characteristics as well. The roundness of Jitoku's hunched shoulder echoes the rotundity of Hote's protruding stomach. Jitoku holds a short broom aloft, while Hote grasps a long staff. And Jitoku wears shoes, while Hote is barefoot. Perhaps most notably, the figures bookend the central image. In fact, their curving backs and extending heads literally resemble a pair of parentheses, framing the content in the center painting. This manner of framing a central image with two flanking figures is derived from conventions of Buddhist sculptures and paintings, in which a main icon is flanked by protective beings on the left and right. For example, this icon of the Buddha in a small shrine is flanked by two enlightened beings, or bodhisattvas. In the Rosetsu triptych, it is not a Buddha, but rather three adorable puppies that occupy the central position, creating an unusual transformation of a Buddhist triad, and all the more imbuing the triptych with a playful sense of strangeness that resonates with the Zen Buddhist approach to enlightenment. Zen differs from other forms of Buddhism in that it does not rely on a massive corpus of scriptures, the study of which is required to attain enlightenment. Instead, Zen Buddhists believe that enlightenment can be achieved in an instantaneous revelation and through the practice of mundane activities, such as washing dishes, sweeping, or even in spontaneous eruptions of laughter. It was in order to startle their pupils into awakening, for example, that Zen masters would ask their students purposely vexing puzzles called koan, like the famous "What is the sound of one hand clapping?" Rosetsu's humorous triptych can in fact be read as a Zen triptych, in which the puppies iconoclastically occupy the central position of the Buddha, and Hote and Jitoku the positions of flanking deities. Perhaps even more than the two figures, the puppies exude innocent enlightenment as they delight in their fun, and are thus put in the most exalted position. You may be wondering, if the central painting is supposed to stand in for the Buddha, then what is so special about what we are looking at? Why bamboo and puppies? In fact, there is a deeper meaning beyond the sheer adorableness of the puppies. There is a visual puzzle inherent in the combination of these two subjects. Let me show you what I mean. Here above is the Chinese character for bamboo, and below, by the puppies, is the character for dog. Watch what happens when the two are combined. You get the character for laughter. Let's watch it again. As you can see, the dash found in the character dog becomes a slash in the middle of the character laughter. Thus, for the erudite viewer, the scene of playful puppies in the center of the triptych is not only the source of the flanking eccentric's laughter, but a visual evocation of the character for laughter as well. A lesser-known Zen koan asks, does the dog have a Buddha nature? Or, in other words, can it attain enlightenment? To which the Zen master replies, no. By placing the puppies in the middle, the arranger of this triptych seems to be directly contradicting the answer to this riddle, baffling us further, and hopefully jolting us into a deeper understanding of the universe. This charming triptych reveals itself to be a visual analog of the koan. The puppies in the iconic central position of the triad are the source of the laughter of the enlightened eccentrics that flank them, and in turn for our own laughter. Once we decode them, their humor becomes evident, and the puppies and bamboo offer a pathway for the viewer's own personal awakening in the recognition of this truth. Thank you for joining me today on this virtual tour for the Harvard Art Museum's special exhibition, Painting Edo, Japanese Art from the Feinberg Collection. I am Leah Justin-Jinich, and I hope you'll join me again for more forays into the dazzling world of early modern Japanese painting.